Om. Om. Om.
Om Sri Sai Ram, offering my humble pranams at the Divine Lotus Feet Mother Sai. It's a great privilege for me to introduce today's speaker, Brother Jitendra Panjabi, lovingly called as Brother Jeetu, who hails from the city of Mumbai. His family has been blessed to have come into Swami's fold in the early 1980s and have been devotees since then. Brother Jeetu was blessed to have joined Swami's College in Prashanti Nilayam, from where he completed his Masters in Business Administration program in the year 1991. He considers himself very fortunate to have been given this opportunity by Swami to be a Sai student and has learned the most profound teachings about life at his Divine Lotus feet. During his student days, Swami had blessed Brother Jeetu by picking him to accompany Bhagwan to Ooty and Kodaikanal trips in the year 1990-91. On the command of Bhagwan, upon completion of MBA program, he set out to pursue his professional career. He has been working in the financial sector in India and overseas since then, and has spent 20 years with the Capital Group companies in India, Singapore and the USA. He was heading the India office when he left the Capital Group to pursue his entrepreneurial spirit. Since 2014, he runs a small investment boutique firm from Mumbai that advises investors on financial markets, besides being on a few company boards in Singapore and India. Now I request Brother Jeetu to take over and soak us with his message on Sai Krishna with his Gopikas. Saram.
Thank you, brother Saram. Am I audible?
Yes, Jitu, you are.
Okay. Om Shri Sai Ram. A warm welcome to all my brothers and sisters and everyone in the Sai family. I'd like to thank you all for having me today to speak to you all. And I think when I look back, the only reason I'm sitting here before you is because I had the privilege of having spent some time with Swami. Swami gave me the privilege of having spent, of taken me with him and spent, given us the opportunity of being with him. And there are, I think the way I'd want to structure this is, when we lived with Swami, Swami gave us some really wonderful experiences. And with each experience, there was a message. With each experience, there was a learning. And I just like to relate some of these experiences as we go through, and what my learnings and what the message to me was. I'm sure the messages could mean different things to different people, but I think it's just important to go through some of it as I would say. Basically, they were his messages. And again, another key point is that, when we lived with him and we went through these experiences, it was perfectly like Krishna with the Gopikas. I remember those stories about Krishna and gopis, and how the Gopikas would lose their body consciousness and would just be lost in Krishna and would not see anything except Krishna in everything they did. I think that was exactly the same feeling with the boys and Swami. So it was reliving Krishna and Gopikas. Here there was Swami and the students, and those experiences were absolutely priceless. So the theme is thus Sai Krishna with his Gopikas. And we were fortunate, very, very, very fortunate to have gone through some of these experiences. And the way I kind of calibrate my life, or there's before Christ and after Christ, but for me it was before Sai and after Sai, because after Sai your world was changed, and he made you go through these changes, and he changed your life and he changed your world completely. And uh, what he did was he took you, and there was rust and dust on you all over you, and he cleaned you up in a significant way so that you could then experience him in a much better way. Everybody has a point where they come to Swami, and that entire coming to Swami is an experience everyone has to talk about when they get a chance to talk to devotees. So I did not believe in Swami initially. I kind of said, okay, he's a good man, he's doing good work, but I have my life. I value my life, and it's a worldly life, and I don't want to have anything to engage with a person into religion and all these things. But little did I realize that one, there was no religion in it. It was all spirituality. It was all love. And the second thing is he brought me to him, and started and he actually told me in Vrindavan. This was 3rd of November 1988, where he called me, and I didn't want to come and sit in front of him. And he called and he made me sit, and he said, he spoke to me for 1 hour, 15 minutes. My family, everybody was there. He made me sit on a chair opposite him, where everyone was sitting on the floor. And he asked, what are your plans? So I said, I'm planning to go to the US to do an MBA. I'm just finishing my engineering. And then he went through a very a worldly rational explanation of why the US MBA may not be completely applicable. So I said, okay, logical, I'll do an IIM or a Bajaj or a Sydenham. Then he again logically explained why, Swami's college is better in many ways and whatever. And after going through a 1 hour, 15-minute, completely rational explanation of why I should come to his college, then after, and he obviously leaked a few things of his omnipresence and omniscience in that discussion. The last line of that discussion was what really melted. He said, you have hundreds of friends. You have a blue diary with hundreds of friends' names and numbers written at the back of it. You spend so much time with them. Thoda time Swami ke saath bhi spend kar sakta hai. So that, I can't forget those words of his exact words. And that's when you melted and everybody was happy. And I was kind of a little bit of a prodigal son in the family, where I rebelled with the ways of the world. And then that was when you slowly start getting in. There were a lot of miracles and a lot of things that happened in the run-up to joining Parthi, where I kept thinking, no, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go back and talk to Swami and say, I've changed my mind. But, when he has decided to bring you to him, all the forces of the world unite, and that doesn't change at all. Okay. Again, as I joined Swami's college, now remember this was June 89, and as I joined the college, for the first 4 or 5 months, I did not have that blind faith or belief, and I kept questioning, why is Swami doing this? Why are the boys doing this? Why are the teachers doing this? And I kept asking these questions just in a pure analytical way, looking for a rationale to say, I don't think some things are right. And Swami let me go through those questions. I'd kind of say, there are thousands of boys and thousands of people wasting their time in the darshan place, wasting their time. They're not doing anything. Why are they wasting their time? But I didn't realize that was not a waste of time. You had to wait for that rust and dust to clear up. And then Swami takes you. But at one point, he took you in, and I went through a couple of experiences which I'd like to share this point. So, there was a point where I felt sick. I had insect bites on my feet. Both my feet were infected with insect bites. There was pus coming out continuously. And somehow the doctors were not working and nothing was happening. And this went on for 4 or 5 days, to a point that I could not stand. I could not walk. I found it difficult going to the toilet. It was a very painful experience. And then I reached a point where one evening I'm sitting in my room in the Parthi hostel. It's about 6 p.m. And remember, 6 p.m. bhajans would start in Parthi. It's about 6 p.m. and I said, I'm done. This entire thing is not true. They say Swami has the love of 1,000 mothers. It's not true. I don't believe this. I'm sitting here crying in pain. And I was in a lot of pain. And I'm crying in pain. And there, Baba sitting on his grand chair doing bhajans, not caring about me. This love of 1,000 mothers is not true. If my mother was here, she would have arranged one doctor to come and see me and I'd have been fine. And he's sitting there not doing anything. At exactly the same time, I was told Swami gets up from the bhajan chair, walks down and asks, where is my boy, Bombay boy who has come, new boy. So there's all kinds of hustling, bustling. No, then when they finally figured, they called the warden. The warden said, Swami is not well. Then Swami calls Dr. Alreja and he calls a second doctor. Then he calls his driver. And then he tells the two doctors, I want both of you to go to the hostel now. Don't wait for bhajans to get over. Don't wait. And he tells Swami, sends his own car with the two doctors and he says, go now. My boy is very sick. I want you to see him. Take your medicines and go. Then he again walks around and I was told all this later because I was in the hostel at that time in pain. And then bhajans are still going on. Bhajans would get over at 6:30. The boys would come back by 6:45, 7. And at 6:15, you see Swami's car coming in. You see two doctors in the car. And they came and called me. And everybody came and said, no, the two doctors have come for you. And then the doctors came and they, Alreja was quite old. He was an older doctor. And he says, I told Swami, why are you sending two doctors? Only one doctor is enough. Why do you need a boy? You see how old I am. I can't walk properly. And you're forcing me to come running with two doctors to see one boy. He didn't realize what Swami's plan was. And then they cleaned my feet, put the medicines, did everything. It made me. Then the next thing I saw was the vice chancellor came, the registrar of exams came, the controller, the registrar came, the controller of exams came, the whole senior staff of Swami was told, instructed by Swami, my boy is not well, you have to go see him. Before anyone had come, there were like 8 or 10, the entire administration was there. And that's when you kind of realized, my God, that feeling of Swami's doesn't have the love of 1,000 mothers. See what he's did. And he worked through that. Then that night, there was a very, I was laying down in my bed, sleeping and thinking about the events of what happened that day. And a really big mosquito came and bit me in the eye. Some insect, I don't know what it was. And the next time, somehow I just went to sleep. They had given you medicines and whatever, painkillers and everything. So I went to sleep. Next morning, I got up, my eye was like a big golf ball. And it was just one slit open and a big golf ball. So I was kind of saying, I better go to the doctor. Anyway, the doctors had asked me to come to see them. So I went to the doctors and I went to the eye doctor and this lady doctor was there and she looks at me in the eye and then she starts putting some ointment. She asks what happened. She says, do one thing, please go and sit in the front and tell Swami also. I said, okay. And she didn't tell me anything. She gave me some medicines, put some ointment, and I went and sat in the front. That evening, I am sitting in the darshan right in front with an eye that's swollen like this and bandages on my feet. And Swami walks out of the interview room, walks straight up to me and doesn't say a word. He's just staring at me for almost 2 minutes. And I'm staring at him. I'm looking up at him and he's looking down at me. And I sat like this for 2 minutes. And then he asked me, how are you? I forgot to tell Swami, my eye is not well. My feet are hurting. I forgot to say anything. And then he looked at, I said, Swami, I'm fine. And he turned and he walked away. There was no more words exchanged, nothing exchanged. He says, how are you? He went back and then he did his thing. I went back to the hostel. I went and saw my eye was looking better. The swelling had gone down. So I said, okay, the medicines must be working. And the doctor had told me, come back tomorrow morning. So I went back the next morning to the doctor, and she would say, yeah, where are you? Where are you? I'm waiting for you. Why have you not come? So no, I can't. So I went and I asked her. She went, inspected my eye, looked at everything, and she says, thank God, Sai Ram. So I said, what do you mean? He says, I did not tell you yesterday. He saved you. You had lost your eye. He gave you back your eyesight yesterday by just looking at you. And that was a starting point for welcome to Parthi and welcome to Sai's experiences. And it kind of slowly seeped into me. My God, what, look at what, look at his power, and look at his love, and look at his care. All those feelings totally started coming back to you. And, I'll tell you with Swami, the one message I always took is, there's a point where he wants to bring change in you, and Swami is a master strategist. He will make you reach a point of disequilibrium or a point of break point, and then he brings change in you. So the same thing, when you're happy, when you're in equilibrium, when everything's fine, bringing change in people is very difficult. And Swami would take you to the edge, and then he would bring change in you. And that's exactly what he did. And kind of when I look back, when I look at the current times today, and I can see there's a lot of problems in the world, the whole world is in disequilibrium. It's probably a message from Swami that he wants to bring a change in us, not just one of us, but the whole world. And that's probably one of the things I take away. On aside to this, Dr. Alreja, who's no more, who had come to see me at that point, I remember him telling this story that he would tell Swami, I'm so old, you're driving me crazy, like continuously running here, running there, giving medicines. I don't even know what medicines I'm giving. And then Swami told him, Dekho Alreja, tum apna kaam karo, hum apna kaam karega. Means you do your work, I'll do my work. You give the medicines, I'll do the curing. You don't need to worry what medicines you're giving or not. And again, that was an important message, that what the curing is all in Swami's hands. The curing is entirely his, and taking medicines and doing all these mundane things is part of the world, but the real power is in Swami's hands in terms of doing whatever he's doing. There's that again there as you go through this evolution of trying to understand Swami more, trying to see Swami more. There was a small incident. I remember my father, who's no more, he passed away 2 years ago. He used to say, with a pure heart, Swami will always respond. God will always respond. And he had not spoken to me for maybe 2-3 weeks. And I was, again, new in the system. So I was kind of saying, okay, with a pure heart, I'm going to tell Swami, talk to me. And he never responded. So one day I said, look, my heart ain't getting purer than what it is. So this is the best I can. And I sat down and I said, let me see what my father said is true or not. And Swami came out for darshan that evening. As he walks by, he walks past me and he doesn't say a word. And I look down and say, what my father said was untrue. And then suddenly someone's tapping me. And I see what happened. And then Swami turned back 2 steps and he's asking me something. Tum dekha wo ho gaya, this, that, whatever. I said, Sai Ram. He waited for me to break to the point where he said, I'm giving you a message with a pure heart. I always, always, always listen. And that was an important message again, that even in today's time, you reach out to him with a pure heart. He's always going to listen to you. He's always there. During those 18 months, the residual 18 months of my 2 years of an MBA, the first 6 months, I kind of slowly learned or slowly tried to get my disbeliefs out of the way. But the next 18 months, he was very benevolent, very gracious, very loving. He would just shower us with hundreds of opportunities. And some of the learnings over there, right? He would call us to the interview room and we'd just be talking about Krishna, about the Gopikas, about Rama, about Hanuman, all these, really wonderful stories. And remember, when Swami talks of a story of Krishna or Rama, it is autobiographical. He will explain, he picked it up this way and lifted it and did this and did that, as though Swami lived it. And he's explaining to you from his own life. And that autobiographical, so all those stories and all those messages went deep into you. But then along with that, there was always this thing where he made sure that when he entered a room, he'd switch on the electricity light switch. When he'd leave the room, he'd switch it off. And he'd look at, after he did that, he would look at, just to give you a message, remember, don't waste anything, never waste anything. He would keep repeating that. And I think that, again, is a very relevant, just those small messages would come, just those small messages would keep coming. I remember one day when, he'd called us much before darshan, 4 or 5 of us were inside the interview room, and we were just chatting with Swami. Swami would be talking to us about a lot of things. And then he says, wait, now it's darshan time. I'm going to go and give darshan and come to the devotees. And he looked out of the window and there was a whole lot of devotees sitting there. So then he went to give darshan to the devotees and he says, you wait here only. Now, we'd been up for a while and we'd not had evening tiffin. So we were 5 of us. So I said, listen, let's go to the kitchen and see what tiffin is there. I'm a little hungry. So the boy said, no, this Swami's room. Swami's asked us to wait. He'll be angry. I said, Baba, this is Swami's house. This is Swami's room. Swami's a mother. Won't you go to your mother's house and eat food if you're hungry? Are you going to wait for him to ask? Come, let's go. A little brave. And so I went to the kitchen. Swami had two cooks, Subhabhaiya and Vishnu Bhatt. So we asked them, what is there? And they, would be very kind. So they gave us some vada, this, that, and we ate it nicely. And then cleaned our mouths, whatever, and waited. And then after 10-15 minutes, Swami comes back. And then he looks at all of us. Then he looks at me. He says, you ate the food, snack. And so for 1 second, I thought, okay, we're getting fired, right? He said, Dekho da, you ate food. Then he said, wait. Then he goes into the kitchen himself. And he comes out. In one hand, there are 5 tumblers, or water glasses. In the other hand, there's a jug. He says, you've eaten food. You've not had water. You must be thirsty. Have you had water? No, Swami. Okay, he pours water for each one of us in the glass, gives us each one, we take the glass, we all have water, then we collect the glasses, put it back in the kitchen, and then he says, Kuchundi, beto, sit. So I'm just saying Swami was really the divine mother, the loving mother who would care for every single need. And just understand that you've eaten food, you've not had water, and then he himself goes and gets it. He didn't call Vishnu Bhatt or Subhabhaiya and say, can you bring the water and can you bring the glasses and jug? He went and himself did it. And on the other side of this was the boy's love. The boy's love would flow and flow and flow and flow, and just like the Gopikas. So I remember this stories in Vrindavan, in Trai Vrindavan, where Swami would come out and all the boys would be waiting, and then the Swami would give a signal with his eyes. He would turn his eyes this way, means you can go in, and everybody would run at full speed to try and get a seat next to his jhula. So there was a jhula, maybe 200-300 boys, and everyone would go and sit around the jhula. And in that running, remember in Vrindavan, Trai Vrindavan, which is Swami's residence in Bangalore and outside near Whitefield, there are a lot of pots with flowers and plants and whatever. And every day there'll be 2 or 3 pots breaking because the boys have run so fast. They didn't care for who got hurt, whose shirt is torn, whose pant got hurt, someone's bleeding. They ran with a complete loss in body consciousness, only wanting their Sai Krishna. And then drama would go on every day. And then Swami spent an hour and a half with the boys talking about about a lot of different things. And then one day, one of the very senior devotees gets up and says, "Oh, Swami, these boys are very indisciplined." He says, yeah, tell me, what is the problem? Why are these boys indisciplined? Swami, see, every day there are so many pots that are broken, and every day we have to keep changing them, and they get hurt, and see, this boy's bleeding, and this guy's shirt is torn, and that happened, and this happened, and then Swami looks at him and tells him a big truth. He says, you will not realize the relationship between boys and me. It is a relationship of the Gopikas yearning for the Krishna. They lose body consciousness and they can only think of Sai, and they can only think of the love of Sai. Nothing else matters to them, and they can only see me and I see them, and that is a love. It is an expression of love. There is no worldly element here totally, and that was his thing, and it was the yearning of the Jivatma for the Paramatma, which was a very normal yearning in his context. So he said that the Jivatma will always yearn for the physical Paramatma who has come down on earth. It is very normal for that to happen. Having said that, after saying that, he looks at the boys and he tells the boys, "Dekho boys, please remember, discipline is important. Don't do this, don't do that, whatever." But it was a fun way of telling the boys, "Listen, boys, behave yourself. Don't be a little disciplined." But I'm telling you, Swami enjoyed it. Swami loved that love, that yearning, and he would reciprocate the same. And then there were times when he would show his true divinity in some form or fashion, that he's not just a human being in 5'3" in the form that he presents himself. So again, this was told to me by one of the boys over there, that once Swami was walking on the giving darshan in Puttaparthi, and when he gives darshan, sometimes he just stops his holding a robe lifting his feet, his robe from covering his feet, and he's standing there and just holding his hand and is looking at devotees. So one of those days when that's happening, he stood there for 2 or 3 minutes just staring into air and holding his robe 2-3 inches above his feet, just holding it up, his robe a little above his feet. And he came back and he stood near the VIP corridor, and then he asked one of the gentlemen there, "Do you know why I was standing over there?" "Yes, Swami, you were giving darshan." "Yes, Swami, you were whatever." There were various things that came up. And then Swami says, "You are not the only beings yearning for this body and this Paramatma. The Sapta Rishis wanted to take Namaskar, and I was giving them Namaskar over there. So one by one, the Sapta Rishis were taking Namaskar, and he gave you a little glimpse of that divinity, and then he'd come back and come back in the world and just start engaging with you." There were a lot of stories again we heard where he's given Mahavishnu darshan to some devotee, and he's given various glimpses. There was one devotee where he appeared as a Hanuman. In one devotee, you've heard of stories where he's appeared as Ganesha. We've heard a lot of these stories, and I also said, even I want to see Krishna. So in my mind, and I would kind of, sometimes write letters and whatever. But I said, look, I'm just an ordinary fellow. These fellows are great souls. How will I get to see Krishna and Hanuman? Then one day, we were in the interview room, and then Swami lifts his robe up a couple of inches and says, "Take Namaskar." And I bow down to take Namaskar, and they were not Swami's feet. They were Krishna's feet, in the format where Krishna holds his feet. They were not Swami's feet, they were Krishna's feet. I took Namaskar. Then he gives me a big smile like this, and I just realized what he'd done. It took me a minute or two to digest what Swami had done. But there's small desires, small things he would kind of whisk past you and give you those glimpses of divinity. And at the same time, he would bring you to the world and give you some messages. There was a story, there was a time when we were 6-7 of us in the room with him, and he waves his hand and he creates such a big diamond. And I kid you not, it must be like 3 inches in diameter, the head of the diamond, at least. And it was huge, it was glistening, and then Swami spoke a whole story about that diamond and this and that. And then he says, "You know what? You boys, if anyone gets this diamond, you sell the diamond, you get so many hundreds of crores. You don't need to work, you can relax, and you can enjoy your life, and you don't need to work." So then he gets up from the chair, and all of us are standing. He wants to show us the diamond. So we were actually doing Pad Seva and we were holding his feet. And so he gets up and we step back. Then he looks me in the eye, straight in the eye, and I'm about 5-6 feet from him. He says, "Do you want this diamond?" So you can't say yes, you can't say no. You just smile, because if you say yes, then Swami is going to, I don't know how he'd react. So you just smile. Then actually what Swami did was he took his hand and he threw the diamond at me. And the diamond went about 3-4 feet in the air and disappeared. And I had actually got my hand waiting for the diamond. And then he did this tamasha. He started laughing. He says, "See, yearn for the creator, not the creation." And he started laughing. And again, we sat down and continued. But I'm just saying, these were small things that he continuously put us through and got us to experience. Some of us have been fortunate to go to Kodai with him. And I'm going to give you a couple of stories from there which are very, very memorable. You spend in Kodai, the format is, he takes you with him in a bus or in the car or whatever. And then you go there, you either spend 2-3 days in Ooty and the rest of the day, and say, you usually go for a month, sometimes between 20 days to 30 days. And in our case, it was 30 days from 4th of April to 4th of May. Soon after, college gets over 1st of March. And I was at that point an outgoing student. A student was just graduated. So it's very rare for Swami to take students who are graduating already, but we were fortunate. And so there were a lot of incidents that happened in the run-up to this Kodai trip. And Swami was very angry, and for no reason that I could understand. So I thought, okay, look, I don't believe Swami is angry for a reason. So I would just, okay. Then on the morning of the trip, we were told, please keep your bags ready and be ready in Trai Vrindavan, this Swami's house. And he will decide whether we go or we don't go. So after 3-4 days of continuously being bashed by Swami, we had no confidence in ourselves that how Swami will react, he'll cancel the trip, this, that, and whatever. So suddenly we gathered there and Swami was in a perfectly good mood. And these moods are basically projections of what he wants to project. It's not, Swami doesn't really have moods, he's way about that. But we're sitting there, standing there, and he says, okay, we're going to leave in an hour, this, that, whatever, working out the arrangements. Then he looks around and he says, I need one mechanic. Is any of you a mechanic? Now, I used to fiddle around with cars, but I was nowhere near a mechanic. I didn't understand how to repair cars at all. I knew a little bit of how to repair cars. But Swami said, I want a mechanic. Now, this is the car that you see the image, ADA 9. This was the silver color car that Swami went on this trip. And I'm going to tell you a story about this car as well. So when Swami said, everybody looked at me, I'm the mechanic, I'm the guy who, again, this is another image where I'm making where Swami wear the padukas, his slippers, before he goes down on a picnic with us. So the car is next to him and Swami comes out of the car and I'm bending down to give him the padukas. A lot of stories around these padukas that we had 3 sets of padukas and Swami fell in love with one of them. And then we were trying to get 3 padukas blessed. But so there's an interesting story around this. But anyway, he says, I want a mechanic. So everybody looks at me. And I was dangerous to be a mechanic. But then Swami says, yes, you come in the car. So there were 2 cars, Swami's car, this ADA 9, and there was another red color car. So he says, you come in the red car and follow my car, follow Swami's car. And then the rest of the boys went in the bus and the mechanic, I was supposed to be the mechanic, went in this car. What he wanted to probably get me to experience was something which I still don't, you still digest it with a lot of awe and a lot of, you find it hard to believe. So along the way, the Swami's car and the second car went through Bangalore city and was going to Ooty. First went to Ooty, going to Ooty Road. The bus went straight to Ooty, towards Ooty Road, and the bus and the cars met at some point along the way. Then at one point we had got up at 4 in the morning, a little tired, so I was slept in the car in the back seat, and then Swami's car at one point overtaked us, and again we overtook Swami's car because we had to fill petrol and stuff. And then Swami, when I come out of the car to Swami's car with folded hands, he says, "Kya? You're going with God in the car and you're sleeping." But those were the jokes he'd cracked. Anyway, along the way, at somewhere close to the foothills of Ooty, Radha Krishna was driving Swami's car, came and told me the car is giving problems. The car is jerking. It's not working properly. So I came out of the car, and both of us were trying to check what was wrong, and we figured the petrol is not going to the engine. Now this was a big 8-cylinder car, German car, and believe me, I knew nothing about it to really be able to help, except that figure that the petrol is not going properly to the engine. Probably there's dirt in the fuel injection system. And so this went, and then I told Radha Krishna, why don't you take Swami in the car which I'm sitting, I'll go in the bus. And we tried that for a while, and everything had to get approved by Swami, but ultimately we tried that for a while. Then after almost half an hour of going to and fro at the foothills of Ooty, Radha Krishna comes and tells me, I'm taking Swami and going. Swami, which is in the same silver car, the photo you saw, Swami wants your car to come with the bus. The Ooty hills are very curvy and very, and it's late in the evening. Swami wants your car to be with the bus, the car which you're in to come with the bus, and I'm taking Swami and going. So I said, I cannot allow you to take Swami and go when the car's not working. What happens if the car breaks down? What happens if it doesn't work? What happens if you're alone with Swami? I'm not going to allow that. He says, these are Swami's instructions. Please follow it. So once it's Swami's instruction, there's no debate. You say, okay, yes. And then he sat in the car and he drove off fast, Radha Krishna. He was a wonderful, wonderful human being. And we came with the car, the bus and the car came slowly together through the ghats, Ooty ghats. We reached the gate of Ooty, and Swami was there near the entrance waiting for us. And then Swami looks at me in the eye and says, see the power of faith. Huh? He stares at me and says, see the power of faith. And then I didn't understand what had happened at that point. And then we went in and we washed up. And then again he said, but what had actually happened that day was there was no petrol going to the engine of the car as we had figured. And then Radha Krishna put his hand on the steering wheel, said Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. As long as he said Sai Ram, the car worked. The minute he stopped saying Sai Ram, the car stopped. And he kept saying Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram for 60, 70 kilometers through the whole driving. Not a drop of petrol went into the car engine, and the car went on its own, just using the word Sai Ram. So what Swami told me is, see the faith of Radha Krishna, that just using the word Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, he has brought me to Ooty. See the power of faith. Now, that kind of hit you at that point. You didn't understand. And after that, the car didn't work for 10, 12 days. The fuel injector came from some spare supplies and got repaired. The car got repaired for 12 days. That car didn't work. And what Swami said was, when he reached the porch of the Ooty house, he did not have to turn the car off. He just stopped saying Sai Ram, and the car stopped and didn't start again. Right? So I'm just saying. So I'll request brother to put that photo up again of the ADA 9 car, just to, now you have context of the whole story of this is the car. This is the car that actually drove, that Radha Krishna drove, holding the steering wheel and saying Sai Ram, Sai Ram, and the car drove for 70 kilometers without a drop of petrol reaching the engine. Okay. Now on this side, I'll tell you, Radha Krishna had a very, 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 we can take the photo of a very special relationship with Swami. And somehow they were like two Atmas that was perfectly tuned. I'll give you a small example. Swami was deeply, deeply, what I'd say, that equation was very solid. So once Swami comes out of the dining hall in Kodai, and he had a grain of rice, and there were some VIPs sitting outside. Now this is embarrassing to have a grain of rice over here. Radha Krishna runs with a hanky to Swami and doesn't say a word. They just look at each other in the eyes. Swami does this and gives the hanky back. Swami knew he was saying that food is on your lips. And he knew that Swami would understand. That frequency, that tuning of being in one with God and God hearing you 24/7. I mean, that would be something for all of us to attain and all of us to get to. So I think that's another message, that the faith and the tuning with God, especially at a time like this, is super, super important. Now, Kodai I'll tell you the format of Kodai. He takes 30 boys with him, and we stay just outside Swami's room, or there are a couple of other rooms on the side as well. And we all live there. We get up early in the morning, have a bath, we have breakfast with him, we have a session after that, then we go for a walk while he gives darshan, then we have lunch with him. Again, we rest for a while, then afternoon we have tiffin at 3:34, then we again have a session with him, there's public bhajans, you have dinner, there are a lot of chats in between, and it's like how you live in your own house with your mother and father. It was exactly that. So, those experiences, those beautiful experiences you experience in Kodai, there'd be discussion on a lot of different topics, and I'll give you a couple of small experiences from Kodai, right? So, I fell a little sick. I got fever when I was in Kodai. And Swami, when the list of boys was being made for Kodai, one of the discussions was, okay, who do we take, who do we not take? Now, Swami had put my name on the list, but someone felt that, Swami, this boy has fallen sick in the past. We fall sick, we'll have a problem. So Swami said, don't worry. If he falls sick, we'll call his uncle or parents or someone and tell him to take them away. So there's no problem. So somehow Swami insisted, but the point was, if he falls sick, we'll have him taken away. Now that was in my mind, and I got up and I had fever, a high fever. If I told anyone, it would go to the teachers, I'd be sent back. If I told Swami I'd been a problem, I'd send back. So I didn't tell anyone. I took some vibhuti, put vibhuti, and I said, Sairam, 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 and I just sat. And we sat for breakfast. Now, Swami eats his breakfast off in like 2 minutes, and then in front of Swami's table is a table where the teachers and the VIPs sit. So it's a 4-seater table. On the left onward, the boys sit. So I went and sat on the left-hand side where the boys were sitting, and I took my food. Swami finished his breakfast in like 2 minutes and comes and stands at the table where the teachers are sitting, and he says, you know what? Dogs are better than our boys. So, and he repeated that, you know what? Dogs are better than our boys. Now, everyone got scared. My God, Swami's going to fire us. Swami's going to give us a really hard time. And this is going to be a difficult time. Then Swami explains in a very loving way. When dogs have fever, they starve. They don't eat anything. And when they don't eat anything, then automatically the body fights the fever, and the dog becomes okay. His health becomes okay. The fever goes away. But he said, when our boys have fever, they have 4 idlis. This is the photo of Kodai, where Swami is standing on the banister in the living room. Or the very memorable, because he'd stand here many times and talk and tell us stories and beautiful memories of this place. So he said, when our boys have fever, they eat 4 idlis and dosas at that time. And when dogs have fever, the dogs don't eat anything and starve themselves, and the fever goes away. Now that was a huge message. Give the body the space to fight the disease. God has designed the body to fight disease. Give the body, don't tax the body with so many problems of digesting the food. And I think, again, this is an important message in today's world, that when there is a problem, let the body fight the disease. Say Sai Ram. And I'll tell you what happened after that was, I got the message, it hit me hard, and Swami looked at me with a twinkle of an eye from the side, but didn't look at me straight head on. And I got the message loud and clear. I skipped lunch. When lunch was happening, I went and started serving. So there would be no pressure for me to sit and eat. Because if you don't eat, Swami is going to say, why are you not eating? Are you unwell? This, that, and I'd be sent back. So I said, I'm not taking a risk of not eating. So I'm going to serve. Same thing, evening tiffin. Again, I didn't eat. I just stood and I served. And by evening, I was okay. The fever had gone. But that message of Swami that dogs are better than boys is again a huge thing. Another time, what happens, we're sitting with Swami and Swami's chair is here and I'm sitting right below him. And Swami would crack all kinds of jokes and put people in different spots. So he looks at me and he says, can you sing? Now, if you ask any of the old boys, how good, this photo is when we went to take photos at a beautiful picnic spot. And I clicked this from a 30-year-old video. Very memorable. I'm actually going to put these videos up on YouTube so everyone can enjoy. We just retrieved them from tape. But Swami looks at me down. I'm sitting and he looks at me down and he says, can you sing? So I said, Swami, no, Swami, whatever, I can follow. He says, no, sing. So I said, Swami, I didn't have talam, I didn't have ragam, I didn't have a voice. All three, I was probably the worst. In fact, when I would sing, everybody would either close their ears or pretend to not hear because I was so bad in singing. And then when Swami said, can you sing? Everyone started laughing. Swami said, sing. No, Swami. No, sing. Everyone would keep laughing. Every time Swami says to sing. Then he looked at me and he says, Dekho, sing. Boys, you don't laugh. Okay, even I'll not laugh. Okay, I said, no, Swami. Boys, don't laugh. I'm telling you. And he's himself saying, even I won't laugh. Sing. So I sang 2 lines. Before I finished my first line, everyone burst into laughter. And Swami also burst into laughter. Then, I was sitting on the side. So he just rubbed my head like this on the side. And he said something very, very, very important. And I think that was the message I'm trying to give you. Is that he said, everyone is not blessed or with the ability or the talent to sing. So I think there are 2 messages. One, for those who he blessed with the talent, and it is his grace. It is not your grace. And all your talents and all your abilities and all your intellectual faculties are all his grace. Don't sit on an ego. I'm the hero. I'm a really smart guy. I'm a beautiful singer. I'm a beautiful musician. Nothing. Everything is his grace. And he said it that day in a very jovial way. He made everyone laugh. He was laughing. Everyone was laughing. And he tells us that story. Now, there were times in this Kodai trip where he would come on a picnic. I showed you that photo where we took on a picnic. And remember, what happened at that time was when we entered that space, that location, there were no clouds in the sky. Suddenly, all the clouds started coming in. So obviously, the gods, cloud gods also decided, sky gods decided, Paramatma has come down on earth. Let us also take darshan with the boys. And so the clouds also came. But so we go in the bus. Now I'm going to request my brother to put the photo up in the bus. The Swami would sit with us. Now this is him sitting with the curtain of the bus drawn up a little bit. And he's sitting and he talked to us. And this was almost a 30-40 minutes journey. And then, Swami's car would go in front of us. And Swami's car would go in front of us. People didn't know that Swami is sitting in the bus and the car is empty. And there's no Swami in the car. And everyone is praying to the car continuously. And everyone, so Swami would look at the car and doing namaskar to the car when he's actually sitting in the bus and everyone's ignoring the bus. And then Swami said some very important words at that point. He says, Dekho, you have all your value by association with God. You yourselves are 0. God is 1. Because of the 1, the 0 has value. And you and look at the car. The car is getting all the value because of Swami's association with it. And just understand the value. So that was a huge message for us, for boys. Again, there in the trip, Swami would do a lot of creations. He created a ring of Rama at one point. At one point, he created the Churamani necklace, which Sita gave Hanuman at the point of coronation. So they finished 14 years of Vanvas. Now this is the photo. If you can see that pearl necklace that Swami is wearing around his neck, Swami created that. Now, two important points here. So Swami told us the story of how Sita created the necklace. He first gave us a whole half an hour story on what happened to that necklace. So Sita removed her necklace and gave it to Hanuman. Hanuman said, anything, any material object to have value to me has to resonate the word Rama, 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 Rama. If it does not resonate the word Rama, Rama, it has no value to me. So he take each pearl from the necklace, put it to his ear. If it does not resonate the word Rama, 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 he would bite that pearl and throw it away and put the next pearl to his ear. So when Swami showed us the necklace, he showed us it had the tooth marks of Hanuman on it, and Swami had recreated it. Now that entire tooth marks on. Then this was, I think, the second last day we were in Kodai, and everyone was in a wonderful mood. So we told Swami, wear the necklace. Swami was very reluctant. Somehow we said, Swami, you have to wear the necklace. So Swami wore the necklace, and he's one of us, playing with us, joking with us. So he wore the necklace, and we took photos with it. What happened next, as a side, was a little interesting, where everybody went for dinner, and Swami left that necklace next to his chair in a small basket. And Swami went for dinner. And now that was the second last day, so a lot of VIPs had come, and the room was full, and they were serving, so a few boys obviously went in. We were about 6 or 8 boys outside, said, okay, let's wait outside, let's let them have the dinner. And then I picked up the necklace. I said, wow, Swami's left the see this, that. And then I said, okay, let's wear it. And again, the whole thesis is, Swami is our mother. We can always do what we want. It's our mother's necklace. So I put it on my neck and I wore it. And I was afraid, but I did. And I took photos as well. And then after a few minutes, we put it back. Immediately after putting back, Swami comes out of the dining room, looks at me, looks at the necklace, says, oh, I forgot it. Or I left it here. He picks it up. And then he says, did you wear it? Now, I had to say yes. So I said, yes, Swami. I thought he's going to finish me at that point or whatever. He smiled and he did this, and the necklace had disappeared. I'm just saying you that was Swami was just full of love, full of grace, full of all those beautiful feelings of love that Swami had. Now, this trip went beautifully. We came back to Kodai. In Kodai, we came back to Vrindavan, to Bangalore. And we're sitting in Bangalore, and we're sitting around Swami. And Swami asked us, how's the trip? Oh, wonderful, Swami. It was beautiful. This was a photo we took after the trip. Swami, it was a wonderful trip. Everything went well. We had, such good experiences, this, that, whatever. Then Swami said, wonderful. You know why the trip was good? So all of us are saying, Swami, because you took us, Swami, everything was good, food was good, this was good, arrangements were good. He says, because the most important thing, because of what happened for the 3 days. The 3 days before the trip, Swami fired us so badly. It's hard to explain how exactly badly he was upset with us and fired us. He says, because of those treatment I gave you before the trip went well. And again, the message is that, we are living in duality. We are living in Dvaita. With good comes bad. So there are times Swami gives us very, very difficult times. I'm telling you, that time he gave us, he said all kinds of things. You don't deserve to live. Your human life is a waste. He says, because of that treatment I gave you before the trip went well. Now, if I fast forward that message to today, and I say, my God, the world is going through a very difficult time. The point is we are living in duality. He has to give us these negative experiences to raise our consciousness, concurrent to a good that will follow a good time that was before. And we're living in duality, and it is part of his creation. Then 2 years over, you go back and it's a very difficult parting to leave Swami, but when his instructions are to leave, you have to leave. Now, the point was, there were assurances that you asked for when you left. So he kept, I was very upset. I didn't eat food for 2 days at that time. And then Swami called me and said, Dekho, you go, you come back, I am in you, with you, around you, everything. Come back. So I said, that is your responsibility. And somehow it just came out of me. And I'm telling you, 1991, June 10th, I've left Parthi. And I have gone back to Parthi till Swami was in his body 200 times. Now living in a world with a job, with a high pressure work, and he brought you back 200 times, which is 10 times a year, over 20 years, is not a joke. This is, I'm saying the power of word. I remember him saying that 20,000 horses cannot bring you to Parthi unless I will it. And then he says, I will bring you back. And he brings you back 200 times. Now that is all his grace. All I'm saying is the power of his word, the power of his will, the power of his, can do absolutely anything. Now, I remember, I'll give you a couple of other stories which happened. So this happened in 2006. I felt really sick. I felt very sick when I was living in Singapore. And I was on a trip to Pakistan, and there I had pain in the chest. I was wheelchaired into Bombay from Karachi, and I came back. We saw a lot of doctors. There was liquids in the chest. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't eat. It was a very, very difficult time. And then I was a little better. The doctors, in their diagnosis, writes the cause of the disease is a mystery. I still have that. The famous, Zari Ruta was the doctor at that point. Now, they said, look, we can't do anything. Go back to Singapore. So I went back to Singapore. I tried to live a life. I could work only 2-3 hours in a day. I'd go to office, let's say 9. By 12:30, I'm so tired. I can't sit. I have to come back and sleep for 6 hours to recover to have dinner. And this continued to go on. This went on 2 months. I couldn't work. And then I hit a break point. I said, Swami, is this the end of my working life? Is this the end of my, and I was not even 40, I think. So I said, my God, this is the end of my life. And I just was very upset. And then, interestingly, my younger brothers went, he lives in California, he went to Vrindavan to Swami, to pray to Swami to name his kids. My parents, my brother, elder brother, everybody had gone. And they were all there. And I said, look, I can't sit. I can't. How can I come? I won't be able to come. And so I said, okay. So everybody went, and we were still in Singapore. Then that evening, one morning, Swami was told, Swami, the family has come for your blessings. Swami said, and I'm giving you the exact words, I will see the full family tomorrow. Now, in the full family only, we were missing 4 of us, my wife, myself, and the 2 children. So we said, okay, it's Swami's message, come. So at that night, there was 1 a.m., there was a flight. We got on a flight at 1 a.m., landed in Bangalore at 3 a.m. And remember, I couldn't sit for 2 hours without getting tired. Somehow went to Bangalore, slept for a few hours, went in the morning to Vrindavan, went and sat over there. And Swami that day did not come down from the stage. He was up on the stage. We sat in those front enclosure, and I was sitting, and I could feel energy entering me. I could feel Swami's vibrations entering me. And he just sat for 20, 25, 30 minutes on the stage. You could feel that energy entering you. And then Swami took Aarti and went away, went back inside. And he didn't call anyone inside. It was 2007, January, if I'm not mistaken. So I said, my God. Then we went back to the city, and I said, okay, where are we going for breakfast? What are we doing here? Let's do this, let's do that. I didn't realize I was okay. I had become okay. And then a message was sent to Swami, Swami, the full family has come. Even Jitendra has come from Singapore. Swami says, I know. These are his exact words. I know. I have already seen him. Right now, that was the message of Swami, that I have already seen him means I've cured him. And he's okay. And I became okay. And from that day onwards, he had taken the disease away a disease which the doctors had said that, the cause is a mystery. We don't know how to cure it. We don't know how to work it out. And I was up back to my 14, 16-hour days. Everything was working normal. Everything was thing. But I'm saying the message again, I think the key thing here is, what is the message of Swami in this whole thing? I used to think that the results of all our actions are God's grace. Then I said, not only the results, but the action themselves are of God's grace. So the actions are God's grace, the results are God's grace and His will. But when I reached out to Him and saying, give me the energy to work again, I realized the energy to do what you want to do, the actions themselves, and the results, all three are His grace. Nothing is in your hands. And I think these experiences, at least to me, it was a huge message that nothing is in your hands. He gave you the energy to do it. He made you do it, and the results are His grace. Okay, I'm going to go to a small incident in Parthi that happened. Again, I think it was 1990, where 5 of us were sitting inside Swami's room, doing Path Seva and chatting with him. And then suddenly he looks at me and he says, go call the warden. So I said, okay, Swami. I went out and I called the warden in. And he calls the warden, and when he talks about it, he says, warden, yen samacharam, what news? Swami says, all is well. No, tell me what news? All is well. No, you wanted to tell me something. You wrote some letters to me. Tell me what news. No, Swami, all is well. Everything is well. So it continued. Then he's saying, no, you had written something about this boy. So he had written something about me. It was a complaint against me. So he said, no, you wrote a complaint against him. Tell me what. No, Swami, nothing. Then he got, then he said, he told the warden, see, warden, these boys love me intensely. Okay. They have not done anything wrong. I don't want to see such complaints from my boys. Okay. And then he told us, boys, see, I understand. And he looked at me and said, I understand what is in your heart. I understand your feelings for me. I understand. But the world also has to be respected and understood. And you have to express those feelings there also. So the point he made was, and the message for me was, if you love him intensely, believe me, there is no greater sadhana than that. You don't need to know all the scriptures. You don't need to know Ramayana, Mahabharata. You don't need to know all the Vedas, nothing. All you need to do is love him with all your heart. And then everything is greater than taken care of. And a simple, pure heart. That's all he wants from you. I'm going to go through one point where he, when I was working in Bay, and one day I get a call from Parthi saying that, oh, you have sent Swami a message that you're coming to Parthi on Sunday. Are you coming or not? I said, I've never sent any message to Swami, I'm coming on Sunday, but I really want to go there because it was Christmas the next day. So I said, I really want to go. And, but I just went a month ago for my convocation. I don't get leave. How can I go? So when I got that message, I said, okay, let's go, right? Let's go to Parthi. And again, there were a lot of miracles where there was an airline strike and somehow some person came and gave me a ticket in my hand saying, go get on the flight. So I got on the flight. I went to Parthi and I reached on Christmas morning. It was Sunday. It was day of the sun of God. And I reached there. Swami normally finishes Silver Door Darshan and goes away by 7. I reached at 7:30 or 7:40. That day when I reached and I saw Swami's gone away, I was quite upset. As soon as I reached, after that there was a hustle. Swami comes out again. And he looks at me, you came. I said, yes, Swami. And then that was it. Then that evening, he talks to me for a minute. He says, how are you? This, that, everything. Then he utters some very important words. He says, wait, next I will see. Okay? This was Christmas. Next I will see. He didn't say anything. For next 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, I'm trying to get his attention. I'm trying to give him letters. Swami, I have a job in Bombay, this, that. I called up my office in Bombay. They told me you've lost your job. Your job is gone. Your boss has fired you. I said, what do I call my boss and tell him that I'm coming back, not coming back? I don't know. Swami's not given instructions. Swami said, wait, wait. Next I will see. So I have to wait. Anyway, this went on, and then I just gave up, and I would just sit and enjoy the bhajan and the darshan. And he was not talking to me. He was not even looking at me. I said, I have to wait. These are Swami's instructions. I can't violate that. Then one day, after about 20 days, after sports meet, after everything, he looks at me. I'm sitting in the corner in the front. Ari, you're sitting here. How long is your vacation? I said, Swami, no vacation, to office, Swami. Okay, go in. So he calls me in to the interview room. And then he says, I was just testing you. I was just testing you if you would wait. And you don't know what is happening. Everyone in Bombay and Bangalore and here and there is worried. They think you're a very bad boy. They think you've done something completely wrong. They thought the whole world said, Swami's not looking at you. Swami's not talking to you. And you're sitting over there. You've lost your job. There's something, you're a complete loser. Then he said, I was just testing you. Then he calls me inside the inner room, talks very lovingly, does lot of nice time. Then I come out, take namaskar. I said, what should I do, Swami? He says, go back. So I said, what should I go back and do? He says, go and do your job. So I said, which job, Swami? He says, same job. I said, okay, same job. So then, with Swami, you just follow instructions. You don't think, you don't use your head, you just went. So next morning, came back to Bombay. I went to the office next morning, and the security tells me, please wait outside. You no longer work in this company. Please wait outside. So I'm waiting outside. Then the boss comes and in a rough, he said, why have you come? So I said, I've come to work. This is what happened. I'm sorry, sir. So I kept repeating, I'm sorry. It's my mistake. I can't explain to you. There was a personal challenge. I can't explain it's a personal challenge. But the interesting part was that the previous day, we were two colleagues which was running a particular division in the company. The previous day, that colleague had resigned. So if he had fired me as well, there was no one in the division would be empty. So he had no choice. When I kept asking for apology, for forgiveness, he said, okay, come back. I will cut your pay for 3 weeks or whatever. I said, yes, no problem. And I was back to work. But I'm saying, Swami tests you in this world, and he makes you go through a lot of experiences, but you have to stick with it with faith. Now, I'll come to a couple of things, right? Now, there are a lot of things. When Swami left his body, 24th April 1991, it was an extremely difficult time for everybody, all of us, right? All devotees, all students, the whole world. But at least the way it took me a year to reconcile with that. So again, I'm not trying to say that it was easy or it was whatever. But my thinking was, it was first we lived with him. Now he lives with us. He came and sat in our hearts, and he is with us 24/7. I can say that with confidence today, that we have to feel him, his presence in everything we do. And he will definitely respond. I'll relate a small incident that happened in Kodai exactly on the same topic. So one day, Swami was talking, we were talking in the morning after breakfast about science and technology. And Professor Sampath, who was the Vice Chancellor, is a real guru on technology and defense and all those things and radio waves and all. So after the discussion got over, Professor Sampath called me because I was asking Swami questions on this, and Professor Sampath called me on the side and he said, see, the radio waves and the waves are all the time in the air. It is for the tuning to happen and this and that. Then Swami was standing there, and remember, when Swami is there, you can't have side conversations. But Sampath was a pure-hearted, simple man who did not, and he was talking, pulling me, and I can't disrespect the Vice Chancellor when he's trying to talk to you. And then Swami tried to come and, Swami was, he kind of made it feel that he's been left out of the conversation. So Swami came and joined the conversation, became a three-way conversation. But that day Swami said, remember, the waves and the tuning, radio waves are like divinity. They are there all the time in the air, and you just need to tune in, and it is there for you. That tuning needs purity, needs love, needs faith, and he will respond, and he will so the waves, Swami's grace is all the time, and his waves are all the time. His messages for you are all the time there, and he has taken care of all of us. So my thinking is, stay tuned, leave everything to him. And he has, like he said many times, I am with you. You have a journey with him. He's in you. He's around you. And he takes care of you 24/7. And that's been my experience since 2011 as well. I'm going to end this with a small prayer. And there's this beautiful song by Celine Dion, which I think perfectly articulates and perfectly expresses the feelings that I would have for Swami at this point. That my feelings for Swami and Swami's love for us, and which I think every student and every devotee would have, is where Celine Dion says, "I'm everything I am because you loved me." I think that is the starting point, is the love of God. For all the times you stood by me, for all the truth that you made me see, for all the joy you brought to my life, for all the wrong that you made right. And for me, that's a big one. There are a lot of wrongs for me. For every dream you made me see, for all the love I found in you, I'll be forever thankful, Sai. You're the one who held me up, never let me fall. You're the one who saw me through it all. You gave me wings and made me fly. You touched my hand and I touched the sky. You stood by me and I stood tall. I have your love. I had it all. I'm grateful for each day you gave me. Maybe I don't know that much, but I know this much is true. I was blessed because I was loved by you. Sai Ram.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Brother Jeetu. It was really, really the experience was soaking. And when I try to recollect all the experiences what you have told, it's like I remember how Shirdi Sai had mentioned in this Satya Sai Satkarita that whenever Swami likes to pull someone, they are like the sparrows with the threads in his hand, and like the sparrow, he has pulled you and then take you through experiences where you could realize his divinity, and then make you understand that everything is him. And the main takeaway here is like we should have full faith on him and always tune to him like radio waves, which requires a pure heart. And we are zero and God is one. And by the association we have with him, we get the value. That's a very powerful and important message which every one of us need to understand. And finally, it was like he made you to understand that the results are his grace, even the actions to achieve the results are his grace. And finally, you realized that even the energy to do the actions are his grace. So nothing is with us and everything is his grace. So we should leave everything to him with full, complete faith. So that's a wonderful evening we had with you. And thank you for joining us. Now we have certain questions to be answered. Like we have the people who are pouring in with questions. I'll just go through it. Like a devotee is asking, can you please suggest what practices should we do in order to get the correct tuning with him?
You know, this is a great question, but I have, okay, in my humble view, I think, you know, it's like there's no one suit that fits everybody. Everyone has their own way to do it. But I remember one, again, you know, I only learned what Swami taught me. I don't have my own wisdom or understanding beyond that. But I remember Swami telling us very clearly that you take a pot of water and fill it with water and you keep it out. What will happen? The water level will go down and soon it will evaporate. if you take that pot of water and put that pot of water in water itself, then what will happen is, because of that water inside the pot being in good company with the water outside the pot, that water level will not go down. Okay. So the message again, I'm articulating and trying to get an answer to your question, is that we have to, one, keep ourselves in good company, which is the water outside, which could mean, it could mean chanting Vedas or singing his bhajans or hearing his Paranam, a session like this, or going and seeing his speeches, or going and reading his books, whatever works for you, whatever helps you tune in. Each one, in my view, it's a custom tuning. So each one of us is different. For example, if you take me into some heavy scriptures, I just tune off. But if I think of him and I'm in his, that's it for me. But that works for me, but for someone else, the Vedam or something else. So whatever particular form of sadhana that works with you, you do it, because each of us is different. But make sure that sadhana, people of that sadhana surround you all the time, and you keep feeding in those good vibrations and good petrol, as you want to call it, to keep your sadhana going. That would be my interpretation.
That's very well put in. So there was another question also, how to purify your heart, which very well explains by this answer what you had given. There is another question, you work in an industry wherein the greed, fear, and a lot of other spirits rule. How do you treat failure and disappointment in your worldly and spiritual pursuits? Could you narrate any experience?
So, I have a strong view on this. Okay, I may not think of the experience right now, but in my view, every failure or every success is only his doing, is his design. So he makes you fail to give you an experience, to bring down your ego, and to make you to climb higher. It is part of duality. It's part of his creation. It is part of his design to have success and failure, good and bad, happiness and sorrow, COVID and no COVID, all of it to coexist. And in my view, that is his creation. So believe me, the way, and I'll repeat, I'll tell you one, as I'm answering this question, there is a thing I remember Swami telling us. He spent hours on this topic of Arjuna, Krishna, and being a sthita prajna. Now the word sthita prajna, believe me, I'm not good with these high-tech words, but sthita prajna is a state of being where you are neutral in sorrow, in joy, in happiness, in difficulty, in anything, in good health and bad health. It is a state of being that you achieve, where you are at a constant state of equilibrium and happiness, despite what the circumstances are. And Krishna tells Arjuna on the battlefield in Bhagavad Gita that you have to achieve the state of Sthita Prajna. Now that, I think, is the message. So if you're going to ask how do you treat failure, I think what I'm going to go back. See, these are all learnings from Swami's talks that come back to you, so that you have to try and achieve a state of Sthita Prajna where you attribute everything to him. If success is attributed to him and failure is attributed to him, there is no success or failure. It is his journey. It is he's carrying you on this journey and taking you along with him.
Exactly. In today's Radio Sai message was also this, how do you treat success and failure? It's like Swami had told that if you're digging a well, the amount of mud which has come out of the digging is equivalent to the depth of the well. So some consider the depth as a failure, some consider the heap of mud as success. But Swami is saying that you have to treat both together, because the amount of mud that has come outside is equivalent to the depth of the well. If you put it back, it's going to be equal. So that's nicely explains what you had said. Another devotee had asked a question, like probably this was answered in other Parayanam sessions, but still, What comes first, faith or experience?
What comes first, faith or experience? Uh, I see for me. Okay, let me back up on that because I can only tell you what my understanding is from my experiential understanding. I don't think I understand it as wisdom from the scriptures or wisdom from the great souls. So I'm just for me, all I know is that when I look back at my life and Swami bringing me to him and then giving me experiences which gave me faith, I can say that experiences first come and then faith follows. But what happens is, and again, I can say this with confidence, there are a lot of people who have in their previous janmas or their previous births gone through so much experiences that faith is embedded in them. So there is an intrinsic faith in divinity and faith in God and love for God, which is embedded in you. You need to clear the rust and the dust out of you, and then the faith rises, and it probably needs experiences to clear the faith, clear the rust and dust from your consciousness.
Yeah, very well said. There is a question Swami had perhaps never approved of stock market, as this seems to be yet another form of gambling. Could you please enlighten us in this regard from your experience with Swami?
So sorry, I didn't hear that question properly. The Swami does not approve what?
Stock market, as this seems to be yet another form of gambling. So could you please enlighten us in this regard from your experience with Swami?
No. So I'll tell you something with all humility and with complete respect for whoever's asked this question. This is the opinion of some people at high levels in government also, that this is all free money, this is all gambling. The amount. So first Swami's point of view. I remember this in 1998. The markets were battered, everything was battered, and I remember Swami. Once we were just few of us sitting, and we said, Swami, all the jobs are being lost, all this is happening, there are a lot of problems. And how do you invest? How should you invest? He says, yes, these are good times. You can make good long-term investments, do your work and do it. So Swami has said this. Second point, I remember when I went with my appointment letter to Swami for the job, and there are plenty of this. That time he says, yes, do your work properly, work hard. So he would. So I was a research analyst and a portfolio manager for most of my life, and all I know is I have worked 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day. I worked till 3 a.m. and then again got up at 6 a.m. and worked. And I would respectfully say that there are times you work and you're right. There are times you work hard and you're wrong. But you're not punting. There's a lot of research work and good quality work, I would say, that goes into it. And then it is His grace whether it works out or no. So there are mathematical models which we build. There are econometric models that you build that goes back 50 years to do analysis on how value is created, why will it get created in this environment, how do you project the environment to be right or wrong. So again, I'm giving you this is my opinion, but I've never heard Swami. I've been with Swami on a lot of these discussions, but I've never heard Swami say this to me at least. So I beg to differ.
Okay, that's pretty sums up. Like as Swami said, whatever the work you do it as an offering to God. So if in this life you have been assigned to work in stock market, it is as well like Swami's will. And as you rightly said, the energy to do it, the action and the result, everything, if you leave it to Swami, there is nothing like gambling or other stuff. It's all His will. So that pretty sums up the questions asked by the devotees. It was a wonderful experience of what you had shared, and we really had a very good time by soaking in like how on the topic Sai Krishna and his Gopikas. So thank you very much, and now over to Shankar for sharing few announcements.
Sairam, from the month of June, we will be shifting our satsang to the second and the fourth Sunday. With the lockdown opening, a lot of us are going back to work. Hence, Tuesdays and Fridays are becoming slightly difficult to manage. Sundays are more convenient to everyone, as well as for getting other speakers who are there and who are working. So we'll be shifting to the second and the fourth Sunday from the month of June. And our satsangs are available in YouTube under the channel Sai Sessions. Under the channel Sai Sessions in YouTube. Thank you, Sairam. We will end today's session with Samastaloka and Om Shanti Shanti. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय. Thank you, Sairam.